What's up, Tube? Welcome to the second episode of Filmmaker Breakdown. Today we're going to be going over the intro cinematic for Helldivers 2. And this cinematic was created by a studio called Goodbye Kansas. They did a fantastic job making this, so we're going to get right into it to break it down right out of the gate. Something funny that I found, I just started playing the game last week. I've been wanting to play it, but New Frontiers was taking up all my time, so now that that's out of the way, I've been able to play a little bit. Loads of fun. Love the game. But one of the things I found interesting was in the very beginning, it was like, you know, there's something about it being a mandatory message and that to avert your eyes would be considered treason. And I read online that somebody wasn't able to connect to the game because they skipped the intro cinematic. So they had to relaunch it and watch that cinematic again in order to play the game, and then it allowed them to connect. That's just like a little subtle thing right out of the gate that, you know, does some world building that's pretty funny. But we're gonna jump into the trailer right now. Just like last week with the Assassin's Creed trailer, we're going to watch it through. I'll leave a couple comments, but then we'll watch it through and break it down kind of shot for shot. Again, cinematic created by Goodbye Kansas. Let's jump right in. This is a great shot. It's also an interesting establishment
our home
of Earth,
prosperity
in the supposed future.
Liberty. Hi there.
Great environments,
Democracy.
great character animation, great facial animation.
Our way of life. Oh, hello.
I'm curious to know if they use metahumans for this. I don't think
But
so,
freedom doesn't come free.
but everything just looks fantastic.
Sweet liberty. No! Look familiar? Scenes like these are happening all over the
Look
galaxy
familiar.
right now.
There's so many little things that build the
That
story.
is, unless you make the most important decision of your life. Prove to yourself that you have the strength and the courage to be.
This is also very smart. We'll touch on it a little bit later,
Join.
but only showing that much facial animation
Become part of an
and then making the rest of
keeping
this
force.
just about them being in the helmets, you know, builds a lot more, and then they can really put a lot of effort into these action bits.
And spread managed democracy throughout the galaxy. Become a hero. Become a legend.
Two great shots back to back.
A Helldiver.
Looks good. This is also uploaded by some guy called Game Mojo, but it's his upload, but it's not his video. Video was made by Goodbye Kansas, and they actually have a fantastic behind the scenes video. So if you go to their website, I believe is where I saw it. This article is fantastic. They go over how they made it. I think they have a behind the scenes video that also shows like some of the motion capture and stuff like that. So fantastic little bit. Yeah, this behind the scenes video, it shows a breakdown of how they did all of it. You can see them doing the facial animation and the motion capture, the different VFX passes. It's a fantastic video. So I will leave a link in the description. Go check it out on the Goodbye Kansas website. But we're going to get right into breaking down the trailer from a filmmaking perspective. Now, something that's neat here is just that it does start off with like a motion graphic, and I think that actually sets up the world a little bit more than some other pieces might, just because they have the opportunity to do so by making it kind of like this PSA setting. I'm not sure what they use for building their flares, but I love using real lens flares from Maxon and Red Giant. They have a fantastic flares plugin that just allows you to get hyper realistic looking stuff like this. But like, look, you can even see how it's affecting the atmosphere on the planet. Part of what's making this shot work so well, because like when I first saw this, I wondered if it was like a live action shot at first, like plates. But they're just adding so much little detail. They have like the guys patrolling, like the cars obviously, like the little drones, people walking around, like the ACs, like are, I think they're spinning. I can't quite tell. YouTube's kind of compressing it. But just little details like that will bring your shot to life. Look how nice, like, the lighting looks. Backlit and everything. It's just that beautiful, like, 5 p.m. golden hour light. We'll also break this down right here. So, like, from a filmmaking perspective, it's way more ominous to have the shadow and his reaction reveal the bug before we even ever see it. Like, those are little storytelling bits. Because the first time we see the bug, it knocks them over and then just immediately impales them. What's interesting here that you can do, because it's 3D animation versus like shooting it live action, is him doing this finger snap to change. They can use the same animation on 2 different models. So that's why, like, when it happens, it's so precise. It's really the only human character that we see a lot of fidelity in. And like I'd mentioned before, they're going through and doing really nice facial animation and everything, so that when they cover her up, like, they don't need to worry about facial animation anymore, but it's really putting a lot into it while it's there without having a bunch of other crazy elements that they have to worry about like they do in the action bits. Also, New Frontiers. I didn't realize how hard it was to animate putting a helmet on and make it look good. And theirs obviously looks far better than any of the ones that I did, but like, now that I know, mad props. All right, so I want to break down this shot here and kind of like what's going on that makes it feel so realistic. Because I remember I saw like a little bit of this online before I had played the game, and I thought some of it was like live action footage that they shot like on a volume or something. What's making it look so good is what they wanted to make it look like broad daylight in the scene, and kind of what I was talking about last week with the Assassin's Creed one, where I was talking about the bayonet like kind of being overexposed. We can see that happening on the gun here too. And that's just like, it's really good lighting and rendering for sure. But then it's also just really good compositing to make it feel, really alive. And like, the animation, the character model, like all that is super high fidelity. They're doing a smart move, making it green blood instead of red blood. Because I'm sure they probably use this on TV for a few things. Yeah, so much of this looks so good. I am curious to know if a lot of this is Megascans, because some of them kind of look like Megascans assets. Not that that's a bad thing or anything. Like, they're even hitting these, dust hits and stuff. Like, they are paying attention to as many details as they can. But they are also, like, once again, kind of like what I was pointing out in that other trailer. Like, they're really focused on, like, what are the eyes going to be looking at? So getting your attention towards, these dust hits, the bug, him firing the gun, beautiful lens flare, and like we have like dirt on the lens, and that's what's causing kind of the bokeh hits right here. It looks fantastic. And then all this blocking is just incredible. And this is another thing, like showing scale like this. So like we see the size of this bug, and like we can kind of get an idea of scale because it's got these tiny ones around it that we've already seen. But then when they fire the rocket at it and it blows out its head and the guts, we get even more of an idea of scale because of, how much of the guts are like expending right there. And we come back to this guy, and as it all falls on him, like that just kind of shows like the scale that bug must have been and how far away it probably was. Look at this. When we pan over, I want to point something out. So they went into like even the detail of, this is all this dust here is the backblast from, this rocket launcher, it's a great little detail that they didn't have to add to make the gag work, but that's what's making it feel so realistic. And it's really helping with the compositing here. It helps show scale because of, how small the smoke particles are compared to all this blood that's now hitting him. Like, it adds more to it. And then even some of it hit the lens right there. And it's just overall making this, gag pay off even more. And then once again, we're getting even more of a gag over here as they're putting the flag into into the bug. And it's even more world building, like around these kinds of gags, because after this you go in and do the tutorial, and like it's even more of that to make you feel like, you know, these characters as you go in to play the game, which is a fantastic way to do it. Like that's how video games should really like approach stuff like this, because like I don't mind like pre-rendered cutscenes. A lot of people are bothered by it because they think it's like false advertising for the game. But I don't think so. I think this really builds the world well. It makes you laugh. It gives you an idea of what you're going to be doing. But then they're consistent with it, because it's not about like, this is what the game is going to look like. This is how the game is going to make you feel playing it, which it 100% does, which is, that's just making a good game. This is a great shot compositionally, and I want to like kind of speak to why it works. So one of the things that cinematographers look for a lot, and even in like photography, are leading lines. And that's kind of, this is a bit more of an obvious example. This is kind of like a perfect case scenario where we have like the smoke trails, like making literal lines. And like, we know where to look. It's kind of going in almost to the corner of the screen. Like those are things that cinematographers look for to make a composition nicer, but it's also doesn't ever necessarily have to be obvious. Like leading lines can really be anything that draws your eye to the frame. And a lot of times you want to look for what they would call vanishing points in art class on a set of train tracks, for example. The way that the train tracks at the start of the photo kind of start on either side and then go into a vanishing point, like that would be a leading line. So this is a good example of leading lines, and they're using it in a way to establish, how heroic or like legendary this character looks. I believe they even say like, yeah, right here, become a legend. So they're literally telling it to you, but then this is another way that they're showcasing it by being like down below, kind of making him look almost like a statue. Where he has like this hero aesthetic, but then also, bringing those lines through. They have the lines intentionally being like white once it's past his shoulder, and then like dithered out with the sunlight behind him. And I'm sure that is to, once again, draw your eye where it needs to be going to make this shot look good and the next shot look even better. Those are like little things that, a lot of cinematographers or animators are going to be looking for to really make the camera feel like it's in the best position for the shot. And then this shot, like immediately following it, it's just a great detail shot of, the character model itself. Once again, they're shooting into the shadowed side of the face, which is just making it more dimensional. And on this model, it particularly looks good because you also get the shine and the glare coming on the visor. So that looks fantastic. And then we see the jets in the reflection, which I'm sure that is probably composited in and tracked to the shot. Once again, this is another fantastic composition. We're using this planet as a halo around this guy's head. Everybody has a place to fill frame but be doing something entirely different, and it really makes this like feel epic. Even like using the bug claws down here just to fill out the bottom of frame. And once again, I'm pretty sure the shot, it does move a little bit, so even that, just see, you can see it right here, you can see that parallax effect as the camera pushes in just a little bit. But yeah, no, it looks fantastic. Having these ships up there, that introduces another element of the game that you learn about as you go into it. Once again, like we're using the sun in such a way that like just makes these characters look the best in this framing. They're not afraid to show like, and one of the nice things about this being so many different shots is they can show, the light in these different positions to light these characters in the best way possible. So that's really, making it feel, more epic and larger scale, more like a cinematic piece especially because this is supposed to be sort of this broadcast satire. So that is the cinematic intro to Helldivers 2. Again, huge props to Goodbye Kansas. Once again, the link to that article will be in the description of this video, so you can go check out all the behind the scenes. Definitely show them some love over there. And if you haven't played Helldivers 2, go and play it some. It's a fantastic game. The game devs did an incredible job making the game feel like how this cinematic intro looks. And that's like what is important to making a good game, in my opinion, when it comes to doing these cinematic trailers. But if you liked this breakdown, go ahead and leave a like on the video and comment below what you want me to take a look at next. I want to make this more of a regular thing, so hopefully be uploading these just about every Tuesday to give a little bit more insight to these trailers and what makes them look so good. All right, that's it. We're done. Have a good day.